Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. This session focuses on mixing of English and Urdu in Pakistan. I hope and expect by the end of this session you would be able to understand what does the term code mixing mean and how does it operate when the mixing of English and Urdu takes place in the Pakistani sociolinguistic context. Well, my dear students, at the outset, it would be a good idea to define the term code mixing, though I hope and expect you already know what code mixing is. Anyways, code mixing is an important linguistic phenomenon in many countries of the world where more than one languages are used. In fact, code mixing is the mixing of words, phrases, or smaller units of one language in the structure of the other language. So, the basic criteria is that the smaller structures or the smaller units are fitted into the structure of another language. They are taken from one language, they are embedded into the other language, if I give a very simplistic definition. By the way, just as a reminder, I would like to say that sometimes intrasentential switching, that is switching within the boundaries of the sentence or within the boundaries of the clause, is also used as an equivalent term to code mixing. So, if we use the term code mixing or if we use the term intrasentential switching, both would then mean the same. But in both the cases, the mixing or the switch, it takes place within the boundaries of a clause or within the boundaries of the structure of a sentence. This process of mixing can take place in sometimes more than two languages, which means 3 or 4 or even more than that languages can be mixed up. However, generally speaking, the processes of mixing involve 2 languages at a time. And it happens so frequently, in a society that it becomes a regular feature of the language that is used in that society. Well, as far as Pakistan is concerned, in Pakistan, the mixing of Urdu and English is a very, very regular phenomenon. And it is the same regular phenomenon that Poplack has pointed out, that it occurs within the clause or sentence boundary as a result of the insertion of a part of a word or a combination of words or a phrase. If we look at this mixing that takes place in Urdu and English, these are all the levels on which it happens. Certain terms, are used in the literature related to bilingualism or multilingualism and sociolinguistics that overlap with each other or that are very closely connected. And, mentioning them, Romain 1995 points out certain terms in linguistics such as borrowing, code switching, and code mixing seem to overlap. But I hope that if you just separate the intrasentential switching from the categories of switching and you equate it with code mixing, the issue would be easier for you to handle with. So code mixing plays a very significant role in language change and language variation. And when we look at the context of Pakistan, in fact, the processes of mixing of words that are taken from English and that they are embedded, at different points in the structure of the language of, in the Urdu language, this shows the sociocultural context, the sociolinguistic context of, why it is happening. So there are certain factors that are related to, these choices that are made. It is not only in Pakistan, but also South Asia is a very fertile field for research in code mixing. And actually, in the whole area of South Asia, a lot of codes coexist in each society. So these processes of mixing take place very frequently. As far as English as a lingua franca is concerned, in all the South Asian countries, the mixing of English words in the local or national languages is a very, very common practice, and Pakistan is not an exception in this regard. Well, this leads us to the question why this mixing takes place. There are certain social reasons of that mixing and certain linguistic reasons. Social reasons include prestige of one language or the the higher status attached to one language. Social reasons also include issues of identity, issues of ideology. Social factors also include, the hegemonic practices, for example, of English, etc. When it comes to the linguistic reasons, absence of a word of choice, absence of a word that would exactly convey the meaning that you want to convey in one language would make you mix a word from another language. So, sometimes an equivalent of that word is not available. Sometimes if a linguistic choice is available, it exactly does not convey that meaning. It either conveys a broader meaning or a narrower meaning than what you want to convey. So the mixing of an element from the other language is made. So, there are certain factors, as I said, that affect it. Setting, addressee, addresser, and various social factors contribute their role towards making this processes of mixing take place. Well, my dear students, when it comes to the mixing of English and Urdu in Pakistan, now I'm going to share a few examples with you. I would share these examples not only as general examples, but I would show you how different types of words or phrases are mixed. So if you look at the screen in black color, you would see the Urdu text, that is the Urdu sentence or utterance, in which the red part would show the mixing from English. For example, if you look at the first one here on the screen, kitna khubsurat scene hai. We already have a word in Urdu for scene, that is nazara, but here the speaker has used scene out of convenience, and the linguistic category of the choice here is noun. If you look at the second example on the screen, in dono ko compare karo. Again, the word compare has an Urdu option, muazna karo. However, the speaker or the writer here has chosen compare, and in this case, what is the linguistic category? It is a verb. So, the mixing that takes place between English and Urdu, English nouns as well as English verbs, they are, embedded in Urdu. Here is another example. Ye one-sided report hai. In this case, one-sided report is a noun phrase that is taken from English and that is embedded in the Urdu structure. It is very interesting that only two words from Urdu are taken, and the totality of this, embedded phrase is, bigger as compared to the Urdu part. Another example that you can see on the screen is, आज मैंने बड़ा tasty कोफ्ता करी बनाया है. So consider this word, by the way, tasty in also red color. Tasty kofta curry banaya hai. Now what has happened in this case? This word kofta is actually to be considered in black and this tasty is to be considered in red. Tasty that I have tick marked and curry that I have tick marked, these are the words that are taken from English. Kofta is taken from Urdu, and aaj maine bada tasty kofta curry banaya hai. This is a hybridized noun phrase that is used. So simple noun phrase, you already had an example. This is an example of hybridized noun phrase, or you may call it noun phrase hybridization. So, I hope this gives you some idea of that at different levels of choices of words and phrases or hybridized phrases, English can be mixed and it can be embedded in the structure of Urdu language, and this is a very common sociolinguistic practice in Pakistan.